Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Shanna Fold.
And I'm Yochanan El Rom.
In our top story, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is criticizing a tentative deal reached between the United States and Iran. Iran would release 5 American hostages in exchange for the U.S. to unfreeze Iranian assets worth billions of dollars. Netanyahu's office states Israel opposes any deal with Iran that doesn't include the dismantlement of its nuclear program. He argues that funds received by Iran would be funneled into terrorist activities. The deal, announced after months of indirect negotiations between American and Iranian officials, would convert frozen Iranian assets held in South Korea to euros, and then it would be reportedly transferred to Qatar in special accounts reserved only for humanitarian aid. The U.S. says the funds would be used for humanitarian goods, but Iran says that is not part of the agreement.
European intelligence reports indicate that Iran is getting close to the possibility of conducting its first nuclear weapons test. The information highlights Iran's swift progress in developing weapons-grade uranium. These latest findings have heightened concern about Tehran's active atomic weapons program. The Netherlands Intelligence Service raised a red flag, saying their experts are uneasy about Iran's acceleration of uranium enrichment that could lead to a nuclear test in the very near future. The reports note that the radical Shiite regime is accumulating stocks of 20% and 60% enriched uranium, which can potentially be further enriched to the 90% level needed for an atomic bomb. Iran has made no secret that it wants to wipe Israel off the face of the map. Israeli security officials are closely monitoring the situation.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed a delegation of 24 Democrats from the U.S. House of Representatives to his office in Jerusalem. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York and previous House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer of Maryland led the group. The discussions focused on the Iranian threat, judicial reform, and a number of other topics. Netanyahu emphasizes Israel's stance on a potential Iranian nuclear agreement, stating that creating a credible military threat to Iran is essential. He says Israel is determined to protect itself from nuclear threats, whether through an agreement or not, and discussed the prospects of Saudi Arabia joining the Abraham Accords. Netanyahu also thanked the Democrats for their fight against anti-Semitism and their support for Israel's security.
Foreign Minister Eli Cohen told the Israeli press that Israel will not allow any country to open a consulate in Jerusalem on behalf of the Palestinian Authority. This comes on the heels of Saudi Arabia appointing a consul in Jordan as a representative to the PA. This is likely a symbolic gesture to reassure the Palestinians as Riyadh engages in talks with Washington about potentially making peace with Israel and signing on to the Abraham Accords. Cohen emphasized that Israel has not authorized such an action in the past and will continue to prevent it in the future.
Israel's Minister of Intelligence, Gila Gamliel, has called on Bible-believing Christians to, quote, share the truth about Israel. Speaking to 100 Christian Zionists, Gamliel urged the guests attending the nation's 9th of Av banquet in Jerusalem to take this message far and wide and to tell the world the truth. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are on the rise because the majority have only bad things to say about the modern state of Israel. Gamliel stressed that's why Christian allies need to stand in righteousness and speak the truth. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said in the past that we have no greater friends than Christian supporters of Israel.
In business news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has praised Fitch Ratings after they reaffirmed Israel's A-plus credit rating. The capital market company's report is a reflection of the nation's robust economy. Netanyahu highlighted the country's economic strength, stating that whoever invests in Israel profits and whoever pulls out of Israel loses. He also emphasized that Israel not only has a strong economy, but a formidable military, too. He added this is why Israel's adversaries should never underestimate its strength. Fitch's report acknowledged Israel's resilient economy, strong external finances, and high value-added sectors.
Researchers at the University of Haifa here in Israel have developed a new way of identifying bipolar disorder. It's a blood test that can identify the psychological disorder and predict the effectiveness of lithium treatment for this condition. Bipolar disorder, formerly known as manic depression, affects about 1 in every 100 adults. It often emerges between ages 15 and 19, but rarely after 40. This psychiatric illness leads to shifts in mood, energy, activity levels, and concentration, making daily tasks challenging. The manic phase involves elevated energy, self-importance, happiness, rapid speech, new ideas, and distractions. The blood test holds the potential to diagnose bipolar disorder and determine suitable treatment options for the affected individuals.
Israel's security service, the Shin Bet, has successfully prevented the kidnapping of an IDF soldier in the Binyamin region. The army and Israeli police collaborated to arrest 9 Palestinian Authority Arabs who were suspected of having established a Hamas terror infrastructure in a Palestinian village just 6 kilometers northwest of Jerusalem. During their interrogation, the suspects revealed their plot to abduct an IDF soldier. They prepared for the mission by arming themselves, devising escape routes, gathering information about the region's soldiers, and they arranged a place to hide their captive.
El Al Israel Airlines is unveiling its results for its 2023 quarter 2. They report a surge in profits reaching around $90 million, which is 10 times more than in the same period last year. This meets their projected 2023 revenue estimate of $2.4 billion. El Al's CEO Dina Bental Ganancia says she is satisfied with the results and says it's breaking records. Ganancia says she is proud of recent collaboration with Delta Airline and that the company is entering into the sustainable fuel space.
While Israel is waiting for the United States and Saudi Arabia to keep negotiations alive for a potential peace deal, there's one man who is working on coexistence in Riyadh as we speak. Rabbi Yaakov Israel Herzog is a Chabad emissary who has established the first Chabad house in Riyadh to serve the thousands of expatriate Jews living there. Herzog had initial doubts about Saudi Arabia's receptiveness, but now he admits the local Saudis are welcoming and respectful to other cultures and religions. He says there are about 15,000 Jewish people working and living in the oil-rich Gulf state, and it's his mission to take care of their religious needs.
Israeli superstar Ishai Ribo is set to headline the largest Jewish concert in history at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Ribo has become immensely popular as a songwriter and performer in recent years. He's known for bridging the gap between the Orthodox and secular worlds through his music. The show is part of Ribo's Elul tour, blending traditional tunes with a modern twist. The idea is to inspire and uplift souls during this meaningful period of the year.
A family-owned company says they have fulfilled a biblical prophecy by discovering precious gems in the Holy Land. The Taub family owns a mining firm named Shepa that unearthed a number of different colored gems. They opened the company, which they call Holy Gems, to sell their unique finds. It's located near the coastal city of Haifa, and the gems are sorted in the ancient nearby city of Akko. They extract a range of minerals like sapphire, ruby, garnet, and even diamonds. But the highlight is the Carmel sapphire, a unique gem that incorporates a mineral previously found only in outer space. Scientists say it is proof of the uniqueness of the land of Israel. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verses 11 and 12, it says, "I will lay your foundations with sapphires, and I will make your windows of jasper, and your gates of carbuncle stones, and all your borders of precious stones." The company's CEO, Tali Shalem Taub, believes it is a promise from God to Israel. She says she doesn't understand why somebody never tried to find such gems before.
Archaeologists from the University of Rome Sapienza are completing a series of excavations at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's a renowned Christian holy site in Jerusalem, which has been under a 2-year, $11 million restoration. The church is believed to be the location where Jesus was crucified and buried. The recent excavation focused on the Holy Edicule, the main tabernacle within the church, which is situated on the cave where Jesus is thought to have been entombed. The archaeological work revealed details about the early Christian layout of the Edicule, including a hoard of coins that were minted up until the time of the Roman Emperor Valens from 364 to 378. The project is part of the ongoing efforts to maintain and restore the church, which was originally built around 330 CE. The restoration is expected to be completed in May of 2024. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Elad Shamir. He is the CEO and founder of the Kinneret Innovation Center. Elad, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Elad, tell our viewers a little bit about what is the Kinneret Innovation Center?
The Kinneret Innovation Center is basically a hub for new ideas to solve global problems. The world is being dried as we speak. Lack of resources, lack of soil, lack of water, and we're trying to push forward the high-tech section and the scientists to focus their minds and talents into finding solution globally. So we have startups, we have new industries, technological companies, scientists coming to research the edge of technology in those fields.
I went to visit the center myself. It's beautiful on the bank of the Sea of the Galilee. Why is that location so important?
First of all, it's a biblical place, and at the end, water is life, and the water technology is the future of the world. And on the banks of the Sea of Galilee is the Kinneret College. Kinneret College is the only place in Israel to have a degree in water engineering. All the engineers, all the technologies in Israel, and Israel is number one in water technology, totally water sustainable. We export water. We started 75 years ago with no water at all. Today, we export water. The water technologies in Israel had supported the peace agreements with Jordan. Today, we're pumping water from the Mediterranean to the Sea of Galilee to preserve the biodiversity over there. So this is the mecca of water technologies in Israel. Obviously, we work with the agricultural industry surrounding this area. This is the most agricultural area in Israel. You have everything from 1,000 to minus 200 meters, all types of crops, all types of water, located in one place, very smart farmers, and a lot of technology, everything's come together in one place.
When you think of the startup nation, you think of Tel Aviv, you think of Herzliya, you don't think of Tiberias or the north. Is it a problem to get people to move to Tiberias? Is there enough people in the north to sustain such a facility? How does it work?
We have a double bottom line. We want to create an engine of growth in the peripheries of Israel, and we want to create solutions for the world. So we will be able to attract the best talent from Israel and to keep the population growing in the region of the eastern part of Israel. We're located 2 miles from the border with Syria and Jordan, and only if this population will be sustainable with great economics and great prosperity can we preserve this place and create a future for the kids over there.
Elad, what is the future of the Innovation Center? What are we going to see in 10 years from now?
Well, 10 years from now, we'll see hundreds of startups being grown over there with the biggest R&D center in Israel, focusing on water technologies. We're building it as we speak. We raised over $1 million shekels for it, and we're trying to create a movement of scientists and projects coming from all over the world. And we're working with Minnesota on groundwater. We're working with Abu Dhabi on soil. We're working with Japanese upon new growing parameters and technologies, robotics. So it will be the mecca of the world in terms of water technologies, agro-tech, and sustainability.
Your grandfather was Yitzhak Shamir, one of the most prestigious and well-known, renowned prime ministers of Israel. How does his legacy fit into this vision?
If we want to keep Israel safe and flourishing, we have to create engines of growth all over Israel. And those engines of growth are for the community. At the end, I want my kids, I'm living in just 30 minutes from the hub, I want them to have an opportunity to grow their kids, to have technological roles, high-tech roles. They can pursue their dreams, they can be in the edge of the spear and not to move to Tel Aviv. So we have to create those engines of growth around Israel, and they're economic engines of growth, but they relate to the strength of the region and the community.
Elad, there are tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
First of all, they're super invited. Our hub is open, we have a visitor center, and we want to share our technologies and knowledge with the world because we know that it will solve a lot of problems around the world. If anybody wants to invest or donate, they can check out our website and feel free to do so. We're super invited, and we will appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Elad, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod. I'm Sam Grundwerg, World Chairman of Karen Hayesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. In the 1990s, we witnessed the biggest aliyah in Israel's history from the former Soviet Union. Once again, the Jews of Russia are streaming home to Israel. Help us bring them back to the Promised Land.
Since the beginning of the 20th century, supporters of Karen Hayesod spearheaded the efforts needed to establish the first independent Jewish state after 2,000 years of exile. For Jews across the world, Karen Hayesod helped forge a new age of hope, making the dream of 2 millennia come true. But at the same time, the Jews living in the former Soviet Union suffered immensely. Religious practice was suppressed, and Jewish national identity crushed. By the 1950s, under Stalin's cruel regime, countless persecuted Jews were executed or sent far away to the gulags. Russia's once thriving Jewish life was no more. But many refused to forget their heritage and God's covenant with the Jewish people. Secretly, they studied Hebrew and the Torah. They covertly practiced holiday celebrations. And above all, they dreamt of returning to the Jewish homeland, to Israel. Aware of the consequences, many still applied for exit visas. Viewed by the Soviet authorities as an act of treason, these brave individuals were dismissed from their jobs, harassed, and ostracized from society. By the 1970s, many leading Jewish activists had been sentenced to long periods in jail for fabricated offenses. But even suffering in the most appalling conditions, they continued to demand they be allowed to go free to Israel. Because of their refusal to give in, they became known globally as refuseniks. Their determination inspired a mass international solidarity movement. Jews across the world, including the supporters of Karen Hayesod and their Christian friends, held mass demonstrations and lobbied global leaders. In the words of the Bible, they demanded, "Let my people go." Refuseniks such as Natan Sharansky became household names. Alongside the likes of Yuli Edelstein, Ida Nudel, and other prisoners of Zion, they became international symbols of human rights and Jewish freedom.
Successful demonstration in those days of Jews who wanted to go to Israel was 5-10 people standing for 5 minutes in the center of Moscow Square with the slogans, "Let us go to Israel." The more people know about demonstration, the more chance that KGB, secret police, will know. Then there will be no demonstration. And the punishment can be up to 5 years of exile. But the idea was that if at least one foreign journalist knows about this, and he will come and he will inform, we are arrested. In the evening it is broadcasted all over the world about our arrest. Next day, hundreds of thousands of Jews all over the world go on their demonstrations, demand from their government to act. And that's how we were organizing this struggle.
By the end of the 1980s, the pressure began to pay off. Sharansky became the first political prisoner released by Soviet Premier Gorbachev. Sharansky and his comrades were welcomed to Israel as heroes, bringing to life the prophecy of Zechariah, "I will return to Zion and dwell in Jerusalem." When Communist Russia collapsed in the early 1990s, over 1 million Jews followed these prisoners of Zion to Israel. With Keren Hayesod's help, they built flourishing lives in the home of their forefathers. Those who once languished in Russian jails became influential Israeli leaders. Sharansky served as a 4-time minister and deputy prime minister. After being imprisoned for 3 years in Siberia, Yuli Edelstein is now current Speaker of Israel's parliament. Ida Nudel remains a leading social activist and a powerful Israeli public voice. The legacy of the prisoners of Zion will truly continue to shine bright for many years to come. And yet, there's so much more work to be done to help bring more Jews from Russia back home to Israel. Keren Hayesod remains at the heart of this mission. Now is your chance to join us in supporting the next wave of Aliyah from Russia and be part of history in the making.
Let's bless Israel together.
Now's the time for you to get involved. Assist Keren Hayesod to raise the necessary funds in order to bring Jews yearning for their homeland back to Israel. Your donation can help fulfill the biblical prophecy today. To donate and get information, visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
And now, shining light from Israel.
Hey folks, Yishai Fleischer here. I'm the international spokesman for the Jewish community of Hebron, and I'm about to take you to one of the most unique and important biblical shrines in the world. They call it the Tomb of the Patriarchs, but that's a mistake, because it's actually the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs. It's the mamas and the papas of the Jewish people, the founders of the biblical story. The whole essence of the book of Genesis happens right here. Let's go in together. So the Bible tells us in chapter 23 of the book of Genesis about the purchase that Abraham made where he was going to bury his beloved wife Sarah. Later, he was buried here, Abraham. After that, Isaac and Rebekah were buried in this sepulcher. And finally, Leah and Jacob, the first Israel. And that was about 4,000 years ago. So this is a 4,000-year-old site with a building that's 2,000 years old. And the Jewish people have been praying here all those years. King David prayed here. Everybody's always prayed here. But you know what? There was a time where it wasn't so simple. In the year 1267, the Muslim Mamluks came to town, and they told the Jews, get out of the building. Well, what do you mean get out of the building? Our parents are buried underneath this building, and this is a Jewish building built 2,000 years ago by a Jewish king. And there was a staircase here, and the staircase, they were only allowed up to the 7th step, and they weren't allowed any further. And Jews came here and prayed here in the cold and in the heat for 700 years. 700 years of tenacity, of saying we belong inside. These are our mothers and fathers. We'll never let go of their memory and their heritage until they were liberated and allowed to go back in. Still, Jews come and pray in this place because they remember the 700 years of prayers and tears that sanctified this holy place. Here at the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs, you have Sarah next to Abraham. Right from the get-go, it was all about these people coming together to give birth to a nation. So people come into this room, and what do? They have life cycle events. They have a bar or a bat mitzvah when a girl or a boy becomes of age, or they have a circumcision ceremony. And even I myself got married in this great space, and my wife sat here getting prepared for the wedding with Sarah, with Abraham, going into the wedding canopy. So towards the end of the book of Genesis, we learned that Jacob buries his wife Leah here at the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs, not Rachel. Rachel is buried at the tomb of Rachel in Bethlehem, which is about 20 kilometers north. And the reason for that is that Rachel died in childbirth in Bethlehem, and maybe Jacob was just too brokenhearted to bring her here. He just couldn't travel with her. Or maybe because we learn in the book of Jeremiah that Rachel refuses to be consoled. She continuously cries for her children. But this place is a place of consolation. It's where mothers and fathers are together. So here's Leah, and then you'd probably guess that across the way is, let's go over there and see, the patriarch Jacob. There he is, the patriarch Jacob. Now, Jacob was dying in Egypt, and he says to his children, don't bury me in Egypt. I don't want to be buried here. I want to go back to the place that Abraham purchased for full money, and he was buried there, and so was Sarah, and so was Isaac and Rebekah, and I buried Leah there, and I want to be buried in Hebron. And here he is, and here's another hall where we get that family feeling. Now, Jacob is not just Jacob, he's got another name. That's the name of Israel. That's the super name of the Jewish people. Jacob is like the mild-mannered reporter. When he tears off the shirt, it's Israel underneath. And so this place marks that Israel, that nation that has so many stories about it, so many issues throughout times, because this is a chosen nation, a special nation that God chose to bring God's light into the world. That's Israel. And the beginning of that are here at the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs. And people come here from all over the world to pray, to connect, to spill their heart, and to get strength to continue the chain of the matriarchs and patriarchs walking in the path of God. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed your tour of the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs here in beautiful and ancient Hebron. It is a very ancient place, and you've got to come visit it. You know, it's a bucket list dream to come to the land of Israel, and you're certainly going to go to Jerusalem, and you're certainly going to connect to the place where 2 temples existed, but don't forget to come visit us. The mothers and the fathers are waiting for you. Shalom.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Shanna Fold.
And I'm Yochanan El Rome, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.